So I have something I've been wanting to share for a long time. I was able to become a full-time content creator just by making videos with my phone. I didn't have thousands of dollars in fancy equipment, just this little guy made it all happen. I was able to get a job working as a full-time content creator, plus I also make content for my own channels on the side, and it was all because of this guy. Here's the truth, I've never owned a DSLR, I still don't have one. There's not really any plans right now for me to buy a DSLR, and I know that there's value in having a DSLR, but right now it's not a priority. And before I ever own a DSLR, I also really wanted to make this video just to show and to demonstrate that we don't need to have thousands of dollars in fancy equipment in order to do what we love. I've actually thought about making this video for a while, and whenever I told friends that I make my videos with my phone, they're all amazed and they're like, you should talk about that, because actually many of my friends do have DSLRs, and when I need them, sometimes I'll borrow it from them. But I held back from talking about making videos with my phone because I felt like, well, that's not really professional. Like, I'm not good enough until I have a DSLR. You know, you're not a real filmmaker, content creator until you have a DSLR and you've got the blurry background and your videos and photos look a certain way. But the more that I've just lived my life, and then a year and a half ago ended up getting a full-time job really doing content creation, content producing, content strategy, and I realized that, like, whoa, I made it in a sense. Obviously there's still more, there's always more that we are working towards in life, but in a sense I realized that, like, I have officially started a career as a content creator, and I'm doing work that I love. This is the exact same content creation and content strategy kind of work that I do and the stuff I think about for my own channels. So I'm literally getting paid to do it. And it's all because I started making things with my phone. So I want to share a little bit of the story behind how I've gotten jobs making content from my phone, how I've been able to travel the world making content from my phone. If you have a DSLR, that's amazing. If you don't, this video will be proof that you can still do what you love and you can still make beautiful things just by knowing how to use this properly and with a little bit of determination, courage, and dedication. So there are two areas or two skills specifically that I worked on and built with my phone that have allowed me to become a full-time content creator. And these are social media and videography / filmmaking. So I'll talk about the two of them since they both have different roots, but they've both helped me become a full-time creator. So let's talk about social media. So in 2015, 2016, that was the time that I really decided that I wanted to figure out how to make a beautiful Instagram account. I was really inspired by these other girls who traveled the world and they had these beautiful photos, but I found that I wasn't really inspired by the content that they wrote. And for me, I had already been traveling for a couple of years by 2015, and I knew that travel was so transformative and made such a big difference in my life. I really wanted to encourage people to travel. So I spent a lot of time learning how to edit photos. I still am learning how to edit photos, and learning how to take good photos and just practicing and just trying and doing that awkward thing where I'm with someone and I ask them if they'll take a photo for me so that later I can go and post it on Instagram. Now it's common, but a couple years ago, like, none of my friends did this. It was not normal to stop what you're doing all the time and like try to, and then this is the thing too, take 50 of the same photo so that then you can look and find the best one. However, I just dedicated myself to learning this, to figuring out how to grow a community on Instagram, and I just dove headfirst into it. So the next thing I ended up figuring and learning on the social media world was Periscope. So I always knew I wanted to make YouTube videos, but YouTube videos take a lot of editing work and I wasn't ready to do a lot of editing yet. So I ended up finding my way to Periscope and built a big community there, just live streaming, talking to people from my phone. And although live streaming in the way it's done on Periscope isn't as big anymore, at least I don't do it as much right now. That gave me a start. That really gave me the confidence that like I actually know what I'm doing on social media. I'm not just making this up. I also did invest in some online courses that taught me some of the basics of how to learn to use these apps. But honestly, if you had a budget of $0 and all you've got is an iPhone, you can just go to YouTube. Even to this day, whenever I want to learn how to edit something better, I just go to YouTube and I learn. So if you have an iPhone and the internet, you are already 1,000% equipped and empowered to become a content creator. The next area then is video and filmmaking. So usually when we're talking about filmmaking, we expect people with a nice fancy DSLR or a gimbal and, big long zoom lens, and they're able to like shoot these beautiful, crisp, creamy looking videos. I do not have any of that. However, that's why I think it's such a miracle that I actually ended up getting a job where I have access to nice equipment and where I do get to make videos. I've made a number of videos for both of my jobs. I work with a digital media company and I work with a nonprofit, both in content creation roles. So I've actually made a ton of videos over the last year and a half that I've been working. And for those, I don't use my phone, I use their nicer equipment, but I got those jobs by making videos from my phone. So how did this happen? In 2016 especially, I remember that was the year I was in Paris and I was staying with a friend who's a filmmaker and I was just really inspired. And I was like, okay, I'm going to devote this year to learning how to be a filmmaker. So by then I'd already studied some photography, so I knew how to take good photos. So video was kind of the next step because it has to do with framing, there's lighting, there's color, there's elements of photography and video that are similar. So the next level up for me was to learn how to do video. Plus, I also just wanted to learn how to do visual storytelling and to vlog. So 2016, I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out and learn how to do this. And I actually made a list in my note on my computer and I called it Filmmaking Master's Program. And I made a list of all the things I wanted to learn, like color grading, editing, storytelling, titles. I just made a long list of all these different aspects of filmmaking and cinematography that I wanted to learn. And I knew that this would take time, and so my rough plan was to basically watch tutorials, make tons of stuff, and develop each of these skills, these filmmaking skills, one by one. And that is what I did. So I ended up traveling to Portugal and Spain that summer as well, and I just made a ton of videos and I just kept learning and watching and trying. And some of those videos are the exact ones that I then used in my portfolio when I applied to a job and I was like, hey, I know how to make stuff. Here you go, demonstration. Right? It's one thing to say that you've been to film school, but it's a completely different thing to just click play in an interview and show someone your best work. So that is how I learned to do filmmaking from my phone. There's benefits to using a phone as well. So the stabilization on an iPhone is actually pretty good. It's better than some of the DSLRs that I've shot on because this is electronic stabilization, and the DSLRs, when I'm filming stuff and I don't have stabilization, I don't have gimbal, things are shaky. You can still make videos with shaky footage. I've done it and I still do it sometimes because it actually takes you need a trained eye to even recognize it. Most people, the average viewer, won't notice these little details that you notice when you're a real filmmaker. There's also benefits just to the fact that I always have my phone on me. A DSLR is big and bulky, and when I was traveling the world and when I was in certain locations, I just didn't want to be that person with a big camera. There might be a time in my life in the future where I am that person, but even to this day, some days when I'm like, oh, maybe I should put a couple thousand into finally getting a DSLR. I'm like, yeah, but actually sometimes I like just being able to pull out my phone, grab the footage, and be discreet. There's a lot of advantages to that, especially when you're traveling or when you just want to be in your own headspace and you don't want people looking at you and thinking you're weird while you're filming. So throughout this time, 2015 to 2016, I really put a lot of focused energy and effort into learning how to create content on my phone. This is writing, photography, social media strategy, like publishing content. There's a lot that goes into just publishing stuff. You can just push it out, but you can also do it with tags and keywords and all this crazy stuff, and filmmaking. So between 2015 to 2017 was when I really put in a lot of focused energy and effort learning how to do photography, writing, video, and like social media publishing and strategy from my phone. Obviously, I have a laptop too and I use that, but I actually have learned the most from doing it on my phone. And it might sound like a really short amount of time from 2015 to 2017. But throughout that time, there's a lot of lows of just like, I'm not making progress. My things still look like crap. How do I do this? How do I do this? And there's a lot of going back to tutorials and asking friends and just producing work, because it's the actual production of work that makes the difference. So in 2018 is when I got those jobs, and that's when it really clicked in my head that I could do this for a living for a long time. Because prior to that, I kind of just felt like a girl traveling the world, trying to find her way, just trying to make pretty and inspiring things from her phone. And when I got those jobs, I just got this huge boost of confidence knowing that this industry is huge and there's so much opportunity. And I'm so glad that I took the time to just learn and to create and to do it on my own terms. So this means that most of the stuff you see on my YouTube channel is made with a phone. There are a few things that are made with DSLRs. Sometimes my friends shot things for me and then I edited it, and you can tell when something is shot with a DSLR because the focus is more crisp. However, there's a lot of things, and most of it are made with my phone. So if you have ever felt like you are lacking the equipment to make content, I want you to know, if you have a smartphone, which chances are you do, and you might even be watching this video on a smartphone, you are already holding the tools that you need. This is the other thing. Let's talk about the quality of my iPhone. I started on an iPhone 5, maybe an iPhone 4, but I think an iPhone 5 is when I really started to get the hang of it. Actually, no. I started on an iPhone 4, and I am actually recording this video right now with an iPhone 6, and I am holding an iPhone 8. And the reason I'm not even filming with an iPhone 8 because it doesn't have the headphone jack for my mic. So this is all just proof that you don't even need the best iPhone. Like, if you've got a smartphone, you can get started. And there's so many things you can learn with an iPhone before you ever need to graduate into fancy stuff like lenses and f-stops. There's a lot of filmmaking techniques and cinematography and camera movement and lighting. There's so many things you can learn and that you can edit and get by and do to a certain quality with your iPhone. So if you're thinking right now, I need to go and buy a better iPhone to film better videos, no. Whatever phone you have right now, if it's a smartphone and it shoots video, it can do incredible things. So my heart in making this video is to really encourage you to invest in yourself. Don't rely on technology to make you a great creative. Invest in yourself and in your skills and in your passion. Put in the time to learn and to create. Even give yourself a challenge of, I will not buy any cameras or technology for the next 6 months. If you're really bold, do a year and say, I am going to learn how to make content with my phone. Even I did that. I realized, I'm like, all of last year, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to buy a DSLR. I am just going to keep creating stuff and keep making things. And when it's time to get one, I'll know. And I ended up getting a drone instead. And that's been another tool in my toolkit. But I'm able to do that because I've also learned how to make content with my phone. So I think if you can learn to take yourself out of the programming, the idea that like you need better equipment to make better videos. If you can learn to just believe that you have the resources within you and you have the resources in your hands already, and to just create and put your focus on that, you'll get so much further ahead. It's kind of like being an artist and constantly trying to collect different colors of paints instead of just taking the paints that you do have and making as many works of art as you can. And then when you run out of those paints, then buy more paints. So I would rather be someone that has fewer paints but makes a lot of paintings than someone who has like, 1,000 different colors of paints, but I only produce 3 works. So I really encourage you to just create. Know that you've already got the tools that you have, and I can't wait to see what you create. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I have been wanting to share this for a while because it's kind of my little secret that I've made a career and a living and a life for myself making content from my phone. But now it's out there, and when I do get a DSLR, I think by then my vlogging skills will be up to speed, and then I can show you that whole process and what that adds to my content. But until then, I'm actually still making stuff with a phone for the most part. All right, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. If you want to follow more of my creative adventures, you can join me on Instagram or read more on my website, anitawingley.com. I'll see you in the next video.